Imagine raising 3 children who aren't even yours, giving them love, support, and a future only for their absent mother to suddenly come back, demanding them and their success. For years, she was nowhere to be found. No calls, no visits, no remorse. But the second they became successful, she returned acting like the perfect mother she never was. Now, she wants them back, but not for the reasons you'd expect. I was 48, and my younger sister Danielle was 46. We never got along as kids. She was always too arrogant and sometimes downright cruel to me. So we went our separate ways right after high school. I went to college, while she moved in with her boyfriend at the time. Luckily for her, he was well off because our parents couldn't have afforded to support her. But Danielle made it very clear to them that she didn't care about their opinion on her life. She was going to do whatever she wanted. They didn't try to stop her and just let her live as she pleased. By the time she was 20, Danielle had given birth to twin daughters, and by 21, she had a son. Our parents were happy for her, but also deeply worried. She had a ton of responsibilities, but no job. She was completely financially dependent on her boyfriend. She never married him, which I always thought was a mistake. If they had been married, she could have at least secured alimony when they broke up. That breakup came when she found out he was cheating. Fortunately, he paid child support, but he also relinquished his parental rights. At that point, the girls were 3, and my nephew was 2. After that, Danielle was completely on her own, struggling to support herself. We never had a good relationship, but because of our parents, I decided to help. I was making decent money at the time and enough to fully support all 4 of them, but I could contribute a little every month. Our parents helped too. The first few months were brutal for Danielle. She had no degree, no work experience, and no real skills. She had to start from scratch while juggling 3 kids. But working full-time was nearly impossible. She couldn't afford a nanny, so she had to rely on me or her friends. Our parents still had jobs and couldn't babysit, and I wasn't always available either. Her friends? They had their own lives and responsibilities. No one wanted to take on that burden. So, she took whatever job she could get, ones with flexible hours, even if the pay was awful. This went on for years. Over time, it seemed like Danielle started resenting her own kids, blaming them for holding her back. In her mind, they were the reason she couldn't succeed. I visited occasionally, but not for her, only for the kids. No matter how bad things were between us, I couldn't ignore them. They were innocent in all of this. My parents and I kept checking in, and over time, the kids started confiding in us. They told us how she treated them, yelling over the smallest things, snapping at them just for playing or laughing too loud. Their childhood was miserable. I wanted to take them away, to give them a better life, but legally, I had no rights. Danielle was their mother. She was still receiving child support and trying to make ends meet. I felt sorry for her, but I felt worse for the kids. Things got worse when Danielle started dating again. Every time a relationship failed, she blamed them. She was convinced that her boyfriends left because of the kids. But honestly, I think it was because she hid the fact that she had children until months into dating. For a single mother, that's a ridiculously long time to keep something so important a secret. I tried explaining this to her, but she refused to listen. In her mind, the kids were the reason for everything bad in her life. She started tormenting them, constantly reminding them that their father abandoned them, that she could do the same if they didn't behave. They were terrified of her. Their childhood was spent trapped under the weight of her bitterness. For years, I wanted to take them away, but I couldn't. I had no legal grounds to file for custody. What she was doing was emotional neglect, but not the kind that would warrant Child Protective Services taking them away. Still, the kids were grateful for me. My parents were too old to connect with them, but I was always there. They couldn't talk to their mother, but they could talk to me about school, their struggles, their fights with Danielle. They trusted me, and I never took that for granted. So it wasn't surprising that when they turned 18, they left, and they moved in with me. Danielle was furious. She ranted about how she spent 18 years raising them only for them to turn their backs on her. She even sneered at me, saying that if I wanted to raise her kids so badly, I should have taken over sooner, not after all the hard work was done. I wanted so badly to tell her that she hadn't raised them at all. They had practically raised themselves while she was either working or chasing after men who always ended up leaving her. She never put them first. They chose to stay with the one person who had always been there for them, not the one who made their lives miserable. But she never understood that. She never saw the pain she caused them because she was too busy drowning in her own suffering. Still, I held my tongue. As much as I despised what she had done, I knew she was probably hurting too. So I said nothing. After that, we stopped talking completely. Her children cut her out of their lives and moved in with me. Danielle stopped speaking to everyone, even our parents, after they refused to take her side when the kids chose me. That seemed to enrage her. She severed ties with them just as she had with me. That was 7 years ago. Now, my nieces and nephew are thriving. Honestly, I have no idea what Danielle is doing these days, but her children, they're doing great. My nephew got into medical school and is now a pediatrician. One of my nieces earned a degree in literature and became a teacher, while the other twin opened her own beauty salon. I helped all 3 of them secure business loans, even pitching in a little myself. And I couldn't be prouder of them. Despite the awful environment they grew up in, they achieved so much. They lived with me for 4 years before moving out. And even then, they spent most of their time in college, only coming home occasionally. I think they just didn't want to return to a place where they had never felt wanted. I'm talking about Danielle's house, of course. It's been 2 years since they moved out, and I couldn't be happier for them. I never expected anything in return. I helped them because it was the right thing to do. They were just kids. No matter how strained things were between me and my sister, I couldn't be indifferent toward them. I felt a special bond with them, maybe because I never had kids of my own. I never got married, but for them, I wanted to be a parental figure. Their father was never around, and we all know what kind of mother Danielle was. They needed someone. And since our parents were too old to fill that role, I stepped in. That's all I ever did. I never asked for gratitude, but knowing that they think I deserve it means everything. I celebrated my 48th birthday recently. I invited my friends and family, including my nieces and nephew. It was a wonderful time. My nephew, being the thoughtful person he is, planned the entire event. I wanted to cover the costs myself, but he insisted. He told me he was in a good place financially and wanted to do this as a token of appreciation. At the end of the night, the 3 of them sat me down for a conversation. They had talked it over and decided that now that they were financially stable, they wanted to show just how much they appreciated everything I had done for them. They gave me money as a gift, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. I told them it wasn't necessary. I still worked and could fully support myself. But they assured me that this wasn't about repaying a debt. They said they could never truly pay me back for what I did because it was worth more than any amount of money. The support, the faith I had in them, that was something beyond material value. This was just a small way for them to express their gratitude. Their sincerity moved me to tears. I decided to share the moment on social media, not to brag, just to express how proud and thankful I was. I hadn't spoken to my sister in years, and I genuinely didn't think she'd even see the post. She had blocked me on everything. I figured it was safe. Honestly, Danielle had never once tried to reconnect with us. She never reached out to check on her kids after they left. Sure, they were the ones who cut her off, but it was her fault. At the very least, she could have shown some interest in their lives, made an effort to mend things. But she didn't care. Not for 6 years. I should have known, though. The second she found out her kids were now financially successful, she started sniffing around like a bloodhound, figuring out just how much she could squeeze out of them. Her message was predictable. She told me she had seen my post and wanted to talk about her children. She admitted she had made mistakes and wasn't the best mother, but now she wanted a second chance. She claimed she missed them terribly over the past 6 years and wanted to rebuild their relationship. I don't know how much of that was true. If she had truly missed them, she would have reached out at some point, called me, messaged me, something, but she never did. And now, suddenly, she wants back in? Right when they're financially stable? She asked me to talk to them, to help her reconnect with them since they trusted me. The timing of her sudden change of heart disgusted me. I was furious. So, I ignored her message. When I ignored her message, she called me that evening. That was when I finally lost it. She said she wanted me to talk to her kids and help her reconnect with them. I told her outright that I wasn't going to do that because I knew exactly what her real motives were. It was painfully obvious that she didn't care about their well-being, she only cared about getting access to their money. If she had truly regretted her actions, she would have reached out to them directly, instead of trying to manipulate me into doing it for her. She couldn't even put aside her pride long enough to take responsibility. She still expected them to make the first move, even though she was the one who ruined everything. Her audacity was unbelievable. She tried to argue, insisting that she didn't want their money and was offended that I would even think that. But I told her I wasn't implying anything, I was certain of it. Her intentions were completely transparent, and it enraged me that she thought she could fool me. That's when she snapped. She accused me of stealing everything from her children, and now even her supposed inheritance. I laughed at that. I told her I didn't even want the money at first, but now I was going to take every damn cent because she didn't deserve it. Now, she's whining on social media, twisting my words, trying to paint me as some villain, and unbelievably, some of our relatives actually think I went too far. They think I look greedy and that I should apologize to her. Apologize? That's insane. Which is why I wanted to ask, was I really so terrible for telling her she didn't deserve the money her own children chose to give me? Update 1. I took everyone's advice and spoke with my nieces and nephew about the situation. Turns out, they had already heard about it from a few relatives and had planned to bring it up with me, but they'd been busy. When I finally sat them down and asked how they felt, they reassured me that I had done the right thing. My nephew was the first to speak, and he didn't hold back. He said he never once saw Danielle as a mother figure. To him, that role had always been mine because I was the one who was actually there for him. My nieces agreed. He also said Danielle had no right to even speak to me about this. She had never once fulfilled even the bare minimum of her responsibilities. Despite receiving child support, she constantly mocked them, made them feel guilty just for existing. None of what happened to her was their fault, and they knew that. Because of that, they had no interest in reconnecting with her. No matter what happens, they won't reach out to her. They also think I should stand up for myself and share the truth online. Since Danielle decided to spread lies about me, they believe I have every right to clear my name. And honestly, I think they're right. Update 2. It's been a week since Danielle sent me that message. Today, I received a flood of calls from relatives and acquaintances, all telling me I was in the wrong, that I had handled things poorly, and all that nonsense. It was exhausting. I had been busy with work and hadn't had time to respond earlier. But today, I decided enough was enough. After a quick talk with my nieces and nephew, I finally posted my own version of events. I laid it all out, not just about Danielle's recent behavior, but also about everything her children had gone through. I don't think most of our family even knew the full extent of it. I wrote about how much cruelty they endured, growing up, how they had to listen to their own mother, belittle them daily, simply because she made bad choices, and blamed them for her failures. I made it clear that Danielle never truly sacrificed anything for them, no matter how much she tried to act like a struggling single mom who had done her best. She had been spreading the lie that I stole her children and now her money, simply because her kids are financially successful. People deserve to hear the real story, not just her distorted version where she was the poor, abandoned victim. Many people had judged me unfairly, only knowing her side of the story. But now that they had the full picture, their opinions changed. Within hours, relatives who had condemned me before were suddenly apologizing, admitting they had jumped to conclusions. But honestly, I don't care. Their opinions mean nothing to me. I never wanted validation from them. I only wanted the truth to be heard. Danielle still hasn't responded. The only messages I've received are from the same people who were so quick to judge me before, now trying to backtrack. I've done what I needed to do. I've said my piece. And now, I'm ready to move on. Honestly, I don't want anything to do with Danielle anymore. These past 6 years without her, my life have been peaceful, and I think the same can be said for her kids. I don't understand why she had to turn this into such a dramatic spectacle. If she needed money, she could have just asked instead of pretending she wanted a second chance at being a mother. Update 3. It's been a day since I posted my side of the story. Today, Danielle finally decided to respond, but instead of reaching out to me directly, she continued her social media meltdown, commenting on my post and trying to paint me as a liar. It didn't work. The moment she started typing, her kids jumped in, calling her out with very specific examples of how she had treated them growing up. They didn't hold back. For about an hour, they completely tore apart every excuse, every attempt she made to make herself look better. And honestly, I enjoyed it. We all did. Danielle had no chance of talking her way out of this. Every lie she told, every accusation she made against me was immediately disproven by her own children. It went on for a while until she finally started deleting her own comments, trying to cover her tracks. But it was too late. People had already seen everything, and from what I could tell, even strangers started calling her out. She kept backtracking, deleting more and more, until eventually, she blocked me. And just for good measure, she blocked her kids too. I guess that was her way of surrendering. And honestly, I'm glad. There was no way for her to win this, and deep down, she knew it. I thought that would be the end of it. But after going silent for a while, she finally messaged me directly. Her message? "I hope you're happy now. You made me look like a villain, and now everyone hates me." The irony was almost hilarious. She was acting like I had done this to her, when she was the one who started it. She was the one who tried to turn people against me. But when the truth came out and people actually saw who she really was, she suddenly couldn't handle it. I don't get people like that. If you're going to start drama, at least be prepared to deal with the consequences. Anyway, I ignored her message. And as a family, we all decided to go back to doing what we've done for the past 6 years, ignoring her existence completely. She's not worth our time. Thank you for your attention. Subscribe, leave a like, and have a great day.